Ladies and gentlemen and children of all ages, do you know this man? This is Solomon Sammy Azar. This is an amazing man. He ran down the rim of the Grand Canyon and back up it in one day. And anybody who's been to the Grand Canyon would admit that that's quite a feat. Plus, he may have discovered a source of free energy that the government is not allowing to go through the papers. I'm going to put a link to the bottom of his page, but all things aside, and there is a lot of things to put aside with this gentleman, in reality, he's a lot smarter than he shows himself to be on YouTube. And with that, we're going to say thank you very much, Sammy, for your patronage and your kind words. Now we're going to go to this other fella here, who you all know as me, a.k.a. Michael Fazio.
I'm looking for Big Anthony from 95.
From Howard Beach. And here we go. As soon as I get me in the picture, because we got some things that I'd like to discuss with you today as far as God's last bastion in the United States of America is the $1 bill. And upon the $1 bill, you all know that I believe that this is a representation of the Ark of the Covenant. The part that you see circled on either end of the Ark of the Covenant are the angels discussed in chapter 25 verses 19 in the book of Exodus as the angels that appear on one side of the Ark of the Covenant and the angels that appear on the other side of the Ark of the Covenant, a.k.a. these angels that surround what I call the God pod and the evil seed of death. Also, I have described to you many times that there are alignment marks along the bottom of the $1 bill, the sides, and then again on the top. There are 24 across the top and 24 across the bottom. And these alignment marks allow you to make bigger constructs, utilizing the alignment marks in any one of a 360-degree pattern, plus a three-dimensional construct ability. You can create several hundred different forms of constructs. And one of them I have created is the relatively simple rectangle. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. What you're looking at here is a construct utilizing the alignment marks that appear along the poles of shittim wood that run parallel to the bottom and top of the $1 bill, of which I just described there are 24 on the bottom and 24 on the top, respectively. And you'll notice them at the bottom of the God pod and or the evil seed of death, 4 and 4, 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 4 and 4. And when you put them together in any one of a multitude of ways, it creates different constructs. Now this is a construct of a three-dimensional view of the Ark of the Covenant. Whether or not you choose to believe it's the Ark of the Covenant is of no consequence. The measurements based on the measurement between the top of the platform or apex of the Great Pyramid, the zenith, and between the eye of God there is a white space. That white space is 1 cubit. It is the legend that allows you to see all the other measurements in the Bible based on cubits. You may or may not believe it, but it is of no consequence because it is what it is. Now I have given you this, and then I'm going to go back to this diagram again, and I'm going to tell you that this is a picture of the Ark of the Covenant looked at from a bird's eye view. This is the last bastion of God on earth. The reason why Obama, a.k.a. the 44th Pastain, wants to remove the United States currency from the world is because once you remove the words "In God We Trust" from the world, which is the most widely publicized word phrasing of God itself on the planet Earth, you remove all mention of God on the United States currency, and probably 80% mention of God throughout the world. And this is what the New World Order wants, and this is what they're going to do. Of course, everybody will keep a $1 bill in their drawer somewhere, but it won't change the fact that it will be the next step to placing the chip in one's hand. And when that happens, we all know the story about the beast and all about the removal of money and the placing of a computer chip in one's forehead or one's hand. Okay, moving past that, the other aspect of the beast is the fact that once these chips are installed in a person's body, they will have to be recognized via a satellite. Not at first, probably it'll just be a close-up scanner, but eventually a satellite, and all that information will go into a computer. Now, the computer that's been running the country for the last 30 years is a.k.a. Systems 3, and which was just recently replaced. But the computer itself is known as the Beast, a.k.a. the chip in the hand, and the a.k.a. Systems 3, the Beast computer, speak with one another, and once the satellite makes the communication between the chip, it will be reported back to the computer. That may or may not be the update of the a.k.a. Systems 3, but it will be a Beast-like computer, or will have been the computer that replaced the Beast. Now, let me show you another representation of a pictograph that appears on the $1 bill by folding it. And this is a representation of perfect geometry. Now, you can stop your video camera at some point and take a close look at my notes that I have on this, but this is a perfect Fibonacci sequence type of pictograph when you get down to it on a scaled down version. Moving past that, I noticed today that I was losing my hair. Look at my hairline. It's starting to recede. This is what my hairline was 30 years ago. No one thought I'd ever live to be 55 years old. In fact, they were taking money for novenas in back of the bars when I used to walk by, that I would not live to see another sunrise. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate that. And here's a picture of my dad making a gasket for the stern drive unit of my barge, a.k.a. the Dragon. So, if those of you ever hear me speak about the Dragon and or the Beast that I used to own, I owned a barge called the Dragon, and my name is Michael Fazio. Therefore, Michael Fazio tamed the dragon. Just like in the biblical sense, Michael fought the dragon. Let me tell you something. That barge was a bear. It never stopped. There was always something to do on that barge. 37-ton Loran diesel crane ran like a charm. The motors ran like a charm. But having 12 diesel motors and 12 sets of hydraulic systems was just a lot of work. And let me show you a picture of the President Obama while we're talking about dragons and barges and beasts. This is a picture of President Obama. Now, you know it's President Obama because all you see is death. And this is what President Obama represents. He's the 44th pus stain. Now, let me show you a picture of Barney Frank, picture of Ben Bernanke. Here's a picture of Timothy Ginter. And you know it's Timothy Ginter because of the rudimentary teeth. So, ladies and gentlemen, what have you learned today? You've learned that Sammy Solomon Azar is a genius in his own right. You've learned that upon the ARK, the $1 bill sets the Ark of the Covenant from a bird's eye point of view. You've learned that Michael Fazio had a barge called the Dragon that I used to build decks and docks with. And you've learned that my dad helped me make a gasket for one of the stern drive, for the stern drive unit. It was a Murray and Tregurtha 07 stern drive unit built in 1942 with a 2-to-1 twin disc transmission and two 671s that came out of a World War II tank. And that was the name of the stern drive unit. The barge was called the Dragon, and Michael Fazio fought the Beast, a.k.a. the Dragon. You've also learned that you can make constructs that turn into three-dimensional objects utilizing the alignment marks that appear on the $1 bill. What you choose to believe is entirely up to you. It doesn't make a difference what you believe. This is going to become the reality of the future. One day, and it could be 200 years from now, they're going to look back and say, that crazy guy is the discoverer of the Ark of the Covenant upon the $1 bill. I don't care when it happens. I know it's going to happen. Right now, I just sent an email to Nash Entertainment, to a gentleman named Bob Cosner. He hasn't gotten back to me, but there are people like that interested in my idea. If anyone out there knows of someone that's interested, you will be granted a 10% finder's fee according to the work that you put into it at a bare minimum. If you can get me a contract for this concept,